USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carey, Josh, Eddie, and
George.
And welcome back. It is another edition of the unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com, where the normal gang is out hanging around. George Stoya, Eddie Radosevich, Josh McQuiston joining us from his home in Houston. And a lot of recruiting news have come out. We've done a big recruiting report, a couple of them on before the weekend and after the weekend on some of the commitments. And, we haven't had any commitments since then. I don't know. It slowed down a little bit. It was just so fast and furious there. You got a kicker. You got a although you did get I guess the closest thing we got, Josh, and what is that you're wearing on your wrist? What is that thing?
It's my watch. I forgot I had it on. It's
so
just
you
a little.
Do have a watch. It's very.
I do. It's my one vaguely nice watch.
It's a very classy looking watch. It's not at all garish like your taste. Anyway, we'll be on YouTube soon. I promise. Anyway, you did have a Fong Bomb that was very interesting for Jake Kreul, which maybe we should start there.
I mean, they got a quarterback.
No. I mean, they got Bowe Bentley, but we've already talked about all that. So I'm saying what has happened since with the recruiting report, and we'll go back and we'll talk about your boy Bowe. Don't worry.
He's not my boy.
He's our boy. Josh, Josh and mine.
Never met him.
He will be coming on the show soon.
He will.
Looking forward to it.
Anyway, Jake Kreul Fong bombed to Oklahoma of all places. What do you think was behind that, Josh?
Well, this is, I think with Jake, you came out of the weekend, and I think we talked about this a little bit on the recruiting report. You felt like it went really well, but honestly, I almost expected a little more groundswell than I got. Like, I expected a little more, hey, something may be coming here. And instead, you kind of got, like, I think he's going to run this out a little while. And Steve was up at the Rivals 5-star and had a chance to talk to Jake, talk to some people around him. And I think in his story, he just kind of said, like, I still think Oklahoma is clearly out in front of this race. And I have been told that Jake will be back for the Michigan game. So it sounds like he's going to take several game visits, not just Oklahoma. I'm sure he'll hit Florida. I'm sure he'll hit some of the top kind of, Ole Miss, Texas. I think it'll probably come down to those four. I want to say maybe I'm forgetting one more that he's kind of mentioned here lately. But I think those four is probably what you're looking at. And I really, honestly, unless both Florida and Oklahoma really just have a problem this year, I think it's going to be Oklahoma or Florida. That's just kind of my gut feel on it. And I agree with Steve that Oklahoma leads. Steve knows more people at IMG, certainly, than I do, and more people kind of around Jake. So I think that he's got a little more confidence. And I think OU fans should take solace in Steve having confidence. This is the kind of stuff he usually knows, and I think it's just an incredibly good sign for OU.
Well, and let's just throw this out there. I mean, the recruiting class, obviously, the ranking has improved, and just the overall look of the class, much more impressive over the last week. But let's start with this weekend, and let's rewrap the Jaden O Neal, Bowe Bentley situation, because certainly while we were critical of the way they handled it at times, it turned out the way that they wanted it to turn out, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly, I mean, again, maybe not the timeline, but this is what they ultimately wanted, and that was Bowe Bentley. Now, again, I don't hesitate to say that there were plenty of people that thought Oklahoma was more than willing to take two quarterbacks. Like, I think that was something they were okay to do. I said all along I didn't think it was realistic, and I didn't think there was any way that would ever happen. But at the same time, I don't think this was, like they had to trade one for the other. But I do think Bowe Bentley is the guy they wanted. And I think that has been true. I talked about it with Bo's offensive coordinator in a story that went up yesterday morning, talking about, basically they came down to see him in mid-January. They came to a workout that Salina was having. And, Nathan said something along the lines of the way he threw the ball that day, there wasn't a lot of doubt. Like Oklahoma was going to get involved in my mind. So I think from there, that was Ben Arbuckle's guy. That was the guy he wanted. And now they've gotten him. And I think that's a huge early coup for Ben Arbuckle, because I think we all believe that he can call an offense and he can develop guys. I mean, you look at John Mateer, you look at the work he did with Cam Ward. I mean, that stuff all is completely it gives him merit. But as a recruiter, you hadn't really seen him have to recruit an elite guy yet, and this is a big kind of stamp on, okay, he can do that too.
And he just is coming off the Elite 11 competition where, depending on how you looked at it, I think On3 had him in 4 overall ranked. Or what were some of the things you heard about him from out there? And obviously, we talked about this earlier. You see Jaden O Neal throw the ball in person, you're like big, strong, powerful, great velocity. You see Bowe Bentley, and he's just a different type of quarterback. And whether that's cerebral or the way he reads things, it just seems like look, winning the Elite 11 is not a bad thing. There have been some quarterbacks that didn't have great careers, but there have also been some other quarterbacks that were first-round draft picks that have won Elite 11. So to go out there and play well, it can't be a negative. What were some of the things that you heard about his performances out there?
I think he surprised some people, because I had heard some stuff when he went to, and I can't remember if the Elite 11 regional he went to was in Tampa or Orlando. I think it was Tampa. And I had heard some chatter that, like, he was good, he wasn't overwhelming, that, like, just kind of not the kind of deal where you're like, well, that guy's getting an Elite 11 invite. It wasn't as dead set as some of the guys that we've covered, as OU quarterback recruits through the years. So I think it was kind of a let's wait and see approach to what they were going to get out of him at the Elite 11. And I think everyone came away kind of glowing. Like he really looked good in some of the pro day stuff. That's the thing I really got to sit and watch him go through. And like his timing, his placement, all the stuff you're looking for against air. I mean, you've got to be honest, it is what it is. But he's putting the ball where you want him to. And clearly, the coaches were like, yes, okay, like that's where we want this. That's where, like, it was a very, very clean performance. And then, again, I thought from what I heard, he picked up some ground in 7-on-7, which is, to me, I mean, it's the closest thing to football they're going to do out there. So I like that a lot. And I think I think we talked about this in the recruiting report. I love that he went there and did well, because that shouldn't be the setting where he excels. He should be a Friday night, lights go on kind of guy because of his ability with his feet and his ability to improvise. But in a set, kind of like, a set drill and a set thing where he just got to set his feet, plant, and drive, that shouldn't be his best setting. So to come away, like you said, Carey, finishing 4th in our in Charles Powers' ranking of the Elite 11, I think that's an outstanding showing for him.
Josh, just going back to just Bentley's commitment in general, do you think it says anything like more glowingly than what we've talked about with the positive momentum right now within the program, despite 2 6 and 7 seasons in 3 years? Like, is it a bigger thing than maybe we've even talked about, of getting a quarterback, and not just a quarterback, but the spectacle of whatever Bowe Bentley is in the state of Texas, like getting back to a little bit of like the traditional look of recruiting, of going into Texas and getting the best players?
I think it's a sign within Texas because of what Bowe is in that state and how, kid's going to be, I don't know if it's the cover or the back cover. He's on Dave Campbell's when you buy them. You don't have to open the magazine to see Bowe Bentley. That's pretty cool. That doesn't happen a lot. So I think that's kind of a statement to that. But guys, I also kind of look at it from a national perspective. I think it's interesting to me when you hear national people talk about OU and LSU, and they talk like they're different planets sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. LSU's had a couple of national titles recently that, like, it's an incredibly successful program. There's no argument about that. But, like, there's this talk of, like, well, how could OU out-recruit LSU? What are you talking about? Like, that happens. Like, that's not some rare thing. So I think it was a good sign. I think it was a indication of, like, they can still do this. They can still go get big wins. And I had someone in board chat ask me, and I thought it was a really well-timed question, is Oklahoma doing better than you thought they would with what they're facing? And I kind of think they are. I tweeted when Bowe committed that I thought it was one of the biggest commits in several years. And people are like, well, they've gotten David Stone. They've gotten Michael Fasusi. And I think Fasusi is a worthwhile argument. I think that is, you could argue he was bigger. I think that's fair. But everybody else, they weren't fighting what OU's fighting right now.
Right.
They've got every school negative recruiting against them. They're having to fight like, oh, the staff's not going to be like, they're fighting stuff that we haven't watched an OU coaching staff have to deal with in 30 years, guys. Like, and that's really hard when you're talking about 17-year-old impressionable guys that are inclined to believe a guy that walks in a hat and a coach's shirt.
After Zoomies at the dog park, it's time for Drive Up at Target. In goes a big bag of kibble and one squeaky chicken toy for the good boy. Drive Up that's ready when you are, only in the Target app. Just tap Target.
And not to mention, I mean, you're doing this on top of, or coming out of a season that you literally put the worst offense in the modern era of the program's history on the field. I mean, I think it's just a good step in the right direction. Obviously, Ben Arbuckle, he's ultimately going to be decided by what this offense can do on the field. But it does seem like this is it was a nice win for Arbuckle to get this so early in his tenure at Oklahoma. I mean, he hasn't even coached a game yet.
Yeah, and guys, it was never a certainty. Like, that was the funny part. Like, outside, I was like talking to people, and I'm like, guys, OU was always in this. And then I'm talking to OU fans about that tweet that I talked about, where I talking about what a big win this was. We're like, oh, we always had him. What are you talking about? Like, that's not true. Like, that's just not the case. I like, there were plenty of people on the Crimson Corner that were sweating every minute and hoping I had some update to the whole situation. And frankly, I guess it was what I thought was really interesting. Going into the Elite 11 was when I was like, okay, is Oklahoma losing some momentum here? Because coming out of the visit weekend on June 6th, I thought OU had taken the lead. I thought they were in good shape. I thought maybe they could close the deal. And I had heard some stuff from people around Salina like, okay, Oklahoma, this might be ready to happen. And then nothing happens. And you're like, well, okay, maybe I'm wrong. And then as soon as he got to the Elite 11 and people started talking to him and people were around him, it was like, yeah, I think this is going to be Oklahoma. Like, so it was interesting how it kind of ebbed and flowed over about 2 weeks there.
As much as we kind of, I guess, couldn't figure out what was going on, it's all connected, right? The way that O'Neal decommitted and then all of a sudden Beau's in Norman. Am I reading into that too much? Maybe there was a plan all along that we just weren't privy to.
I'll tell you this. I heard, Josh, that OU did contact Jaden's father and told him that they were going to move in a different direction. And so they must have gotten the commitment before he announced it and told him he's coming. And OU said, are you sure? Because we're going to let go of the quarterback we've had committed if you're serious and all in. So I do think that there was a discussion. It wasn't just I've decommitted. And they gave Jaden time to put out his own Instagram post and social media post. And I guess, like we said, we criticized kind of how they handled it, but in the end, I think they handled it the right way. At least that's how I heard it, Josh.
Yeah, there is. I mean, that's one of those things that, and I want to be clear, there was no groundswell of like, get the news out that we dropped this guy. Like that's not what Carey's saying at all. Like that, and that's not what happened. Like, I mean, that is not just not what Carey's saying. That was never an agenda by anybody at Oklahoma to be like, make sure they know Jaden's not part of this thing. Like that wasn't what happened. But I do think you're going to get people from both sides are going to, it's definitely who broke up with who first. Like that's absolutely going to be something that both sides, I'm sure, have some say in. My guess is that word got around, and I don't think Jaden O Neal ever wanted to be like, because you think about the math and about being a high school guy, and obviously a successful one in the football world. You're not going to want to sit there and wait for Bowe Bentley to commit and then be like, okay, I'm out, because it looks like it becomes, oh, he's running from this or that stuff, and I don't think that's what that was. I think Jaden knew Oklahoma was more invested elsewhere, mentally, their recruiting efforts, all that stuff. They knew. I mean, guys, he saw the reports where Bowe Bentley's playing golf with Sam Bradford and stuff like that. I mean, if Jaden had come in on the 20th, Eddie, I don't think Sam Bradford's playing golf with Jaden O Neal. I don't think they were ever going to put that sort of show into it. So, and that's fine. Like, they get to recruit that however they want to. But I just think Oklahoma ultimately just finally said, okay, whatever you want to do, however you want to handle this, we want to lay it all out. Is kind of my impression of what that conversation probably looked like. Was just, this is our reasoning, this is what we're thinking. We wish you the best of luck kind of stuff.
Well, as you guys mentioned, it wasn't exactly like Ben Arbuckle was following around Jaden O Neal at camp like he was a lost puppy.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting looking back on it.
Again, it was just so... And again, we haven't seen, I guess, Ben Arbuckle with Peyton Houston. And Ben wasn't like... I guess I'm used to Jeff Levy or, Lincoln Riley or some of these other guys we've seen through the years where when they go through these quarterback drills, and for people that don't know, there's usually 3 stations in a quarterback drill at OU's camps, and the OC, quarterback's coach, whatever you want to call him, will just follow the guy from drill to drill to drill and kind of watch his guy. Mm-hmm. And, the other assistants are working with all the guys that come through their station, but he just moves with the guy. I haven't seen Ben Arbuckle do that yet. I didn't see him do it with Peyton Houston. I didn't see him do it with Jaden O Neal. But with Peyton, I felt like there was a very clear, we're buddies, you're my guy, that kind of stuff. And with Jaden, I don't know. Maybe I read it wrong, but that was not the feel I got. It felt like a couple of people. And same from Jaden. I didn't get a warrant Jaden was trying to be Ben Arbuckle's buddy. I felt like they were both, at arm's distance with each other.
Josh, how much do Bowe Bentley and John Mateer speak to each other? And how much do you think that played a role in this?
I think it's large. And I would say, and I want to say that, both kind of off camera and on camera, Bowe said, it was at least once a week. They talk frequently. There's no question. Now that Bowe's committed, maybe that changes a little bit. I don't know, how much of that was John helping Ben Arbuckle or what the case was. But my feeling was just that I think Bowe really liked having someone he could go to that he felt like he kind of had a common background with. Obviously, they're from the same area, that knows Ben Arbuckle. He knows the inner workings of that team. And I thought it was really interesting that even when that kind of came about, it never felt like LSU tried to match that. They never said okay, Garrett Nussmeier, another DFW guy, why don't you get in touch with him and have those conversations? You can't manufacture that in a month. I'm not saying you can, but there was never seemingly any presence from the players from the LSU side of his recruitment like there was for Oklahoma and John Mateer.
And the other thing, Mateer was showing up at camps when big-time quarterbacks were there.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
not that there weren't a ton of them.
He followed Peyton Houston around more than Ben Arbuckle did.
Yeah. It was almost like Ben kind of like, hey, come impress this kid. George and I were talking earlier today, John Mateer's profile, he really hasn't done anything, but it's raised so much being at Oklahoma, following Ben Arbuckle. It's we joke about it all the time, but it's people make YouTube videos every day about John Mateer because he's, he gets traffic. It's just he's become this big name without ever really playing it down in Oklahoma so far. And I don't know if Bowe Bentley probably sees him the same way. everybody's talking about this guy. Everybody's talking about him, being a Heisman, guy. I mean, it's like,
when we've done national shows, it's like and that's them telling us basically, you went out and got the best backfield in the country out of the portal this year. Like, that's the reputation that those guys have brought. Now they're going to have to go out and do it, but I definitely think I've been surprised how much love John Mateer has received just in terms of him as a college quarterback. I kind of thought it was going to go the other way. I thought it was going to be more of he had really good numbers at Washington State, knew the offense, but he's never done it in the SEC. I thought you would hear a lot more of that, and we still might. I think we will.
I worry that George is going to have a John Mateer t-shirt collection like his Shea Gilgeous collection by the time this thing is over with.
Probably not. I probably won't be buying any John Mateer gear since I cover him, but it's
a joke.
I know, but it is.
Wear a lot of Shea shirts.
I do wear a lot of Shea shirts because he's my hero. But I do. I think he has a lot to prove this year. I mean, the expectations, they were already high. I feel like they have only increased this entire offseason.
Yeah, everybody's the expectation level, I don't think has been this high on all the quarterback transfers. Not Baker, not Kyler. I think people still wondered about Kyler after his A&M stuff. And, Jalen Hurts, I think a lot of people questioned if he could even run in this offense, when he came in. I did. But, Mateer is like universally just lauded as somebody that's going to... you have people saying that, making videos now. I saw one the other day. It's like, is Oklahoma the best team that nobody's talking about going into the season? It's like the hype is... It's massive on this team already. Where I think our, OU's own fan base is kind of like down still.
I was talking to Bob about that this morning. I think that it's very, very split down the middle. You either have kind of reinvested yourself, reinvigorated the idea that Britt can win at Oklahoma, or you're on the complete opposite side. And you're
just
basically
waiting for the year to play out. So you
riding on Crimson Quarter every day. Who are they going to go get on December 31st or whatever the date is that we use?
It seems to me that like the national media is higher on this football
100%
is higher on this football team than the fan base.
100%.
Yeah,
and that's because the fan base is hurt from last season.
I can see both sides of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that either side is just crazy.
You had to actually
and it's probably somewhere in the middle. That's where it's going to be, probably.
You have to actually cover this team to know how down the fan base was.
Yeah, we had some really, really dark conversations throughout the back end of last season. I walked out of TCU Stadium, out of Amon Carter, thinking like some really dark, deep thoughts about where the program was headed. I think that we illustrated those on the podcast after the game on the Eskridge Lexus.
All right. Well, the vision has changed around Oklahoma football, just like Eddie Radosevich's vision changed after he went to go see a LASIK specialist.
Yeah, I mentioned on Twitter yesterday that even with the good folks over at Enjoy Vision, it's still really hard to look down and see all of these scumbag fan bases from other NBA teams like the Denver Nuggets. So take that for what it's worth. But summer is here, Sooner Nation, and that means it's a perfect time to dial your vision before the August 30th kickoff. What we're doing at Enjoy Vision, throwing you $600 off LASIK during the summer of LASIK. All you got to do is go schedule a free consultation today, summeroflasik.com. That is summeroflasik.com. You can get a free consultation and then get $600 off LASIK savings from Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIKs.
I know our good friend Will Douglas was in town for the NBA Finals. He got to see Game 7, and he probably is really happy making his Instagram videos at Cody Drug RX. Go check him out on Instagram, Cody Drug RX, or check out his website, CodyDrugRx.com. Look, if you're a dude and you want to have better health, better weight loss, anti-aging, all that stuff, go check out CodyDrugRx.com. And even they've got the NAD Plus injections going right now, or you can do the nasal spray. But that helps you with energy, better focus, and also just makes you younger. I mean, it makes you feel younger. It's something that Hollywood's doing. I saw a big thing on beef tallow the other day. I'm interested in maybe trying some of that, but I've got the NAD Plus injections, and I haven't started them yet, but I'm going to. But it's quick and easy. Just head to CodyDrugRx.com, book a short telehealth visit, and your NAD Plus injection or nasal spray ships out the very next business day. So again, go check them out on Instagram. A lot of videos talking about supplements that you can take to feel better in your everyday life. So CodyDrugRx.com. Feel better faster without the stadium steps. And good thanks to our friend Will Douglas.
Shout out the great Will Douglas. He was part of the society that got me into Game 7 on Sunday. So very thankful for that.
I said this. George, didn't you feel like it was going to be like the biggest upset ever if Eddie didn't get invited to the game?
Yes.
Game
I mean,
7?
I figured he would find his
magical.
way in.
It was magical. I also have put into the show minutes today that we are now 25 minutes in.
I know we
didn't
talk
lead with the
Thunder.
Oklahoma City Thunder, the world champions.
I thought I'd switch it up a little bit, you know.
But
not
they just
every
won the
OU
world
fan is a
championship.
Thunder fan.
I mean,
Carey,
should
you
be
did
now.
almost cost them the championship.
Oh, stop it!
It was awesome.
Did they win
Played
it,
with
George?
fire.
Did they win it?
They did win it.
The last 3 days have been magical in the city. We were at the George and I were at the parade yesterday. The whole thing was just awesome.
The parade was awesome. I
Doesn't
touched,
feel
I
real
touched the
steel.
trophy. I high-fived Shea.
I
It was
did
awesome.
the arena, speeches, and I mean,
Electric.
well,
Aaron Wiggins. That
Aaron
was
Wiggins
amazing.
was worth the price of admission. I mean, he was fantastic. And then Jay Will dropping the F-bomb right in front of the mayor
Yeah,
was
the
a great
parade.
way to cap it off.
Holt putting his hands on his head was just such a awesome, like, genuine moment. I'm so just completely intoxicated with Thunder content right now. Can't get enough of it.
I'm finding new videos. I mean, do you know, last night I met a woman. She was working behind a counter, and she said that her sister was
Better
married.
than working on a pole.
Her sister was married to one of the cowboys that was out there standing on their horses.
Oh,
And
those guys, yeah.
Alex Caruso went up to him and signed one of their hats. And at first, his wife was worried because it's a $700 cowboy hat, and she thought maybe he ruined its value. I thought that was a strange
Truly
way to look at it.
Oklahoman.
That's them.
It's probably that guy.
I was standing
Also-
right there next to him.
For everyone out there, Eddie does think you're a loser if you buy any of the championship gear.
I don't think you're a loser. I don't think
He
you're a
thinks
loser.
you buy too much of it, I think, is what it is.
It's
I bought
not
a
for me.
t-shirt and a
It's
hat.
just not for me.
Josh bought stuff online.
Yeah, I think
100%.
I do think it's different though if you get to sport it in a opponent city. Like if you're living in Houston, it's different than wearing it around Oklahoma City. I will say though, walking up to the parade yesterday with everybody wearing the gear, completely fine. I think wearing it to the parade is completely fine.
How about me spending $200 at Simple Modern?
Well, we love Brian and everybody over at
But I
Simple
mean,
Modern.
buying
They also-
a
they have some
tumbler,
cool shit on
a 2025, not 2005, world champion tumbler. I mean, that's cool to have.
I'm not shaming anybody.
You are.
You shamed me.
You did yesterday.
You literally shamed
George.
me.
You 100% shamed George.
I just thought there was a moment of weakness, and his Tulsa was showing a little bit.
Because I bought a championship T-shirt?
No, because you said you wanted to buy more.
I do. Give me all the gear that says we won the championship. I love that shit.
And that's fine.
I love my city.
I think it's great. The amount of Oklahoma City pride out there yesterday was awesome. And shout out the Thunder photographer that had the photo of Shea and the bus in front of the
Coming through the
memorial.
memorial, yeah.
Unbelievable.
That was
photo.
a great photo.
Jimmy
Great
Dew,
photo.
I think, is
Jimmy
the,
Dew.
the
Jimmy Doe.
photographer.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I love that photo, but I get that it's more meaningful because of all that obviously it entails. But the picture of Jalen with the Oklahoma City flag above and he's holding up the trophy, that's my favorite picture of yesterday.
Yeah.
Like I just love the way that looks.
I've had a lot of favorite pictures. Like I love the players after it was over, they took time to take their pictures outside of the locker room with the Larry O'Brien trophy. The one with Shea and J-Dub, that's going to be an iconic photo, like for all time. And if they win more championships, that photo only gets more and more. That's like, it's like Jordan and Pippen. I mean, It's like when they first won their title. Hopefully, they win many more. But that one, and then the bombing one, and then I think my favorite video so far has been because they both came in during the offseason as free agents when Alex Caruso, who is Ray Caruso? Alex Caruso and
going for Ray Caruso.
Isaiah, that might have been it. Isaiah Hartenstein were like jumping up and down all giddy in front of the bus, and then here comes Shea just streaking past with the trophy in hand. I mean, Shea was... Those guys ran the entire route, basically.
Insane stuff. But I also thought it was cool how much they all mentioned Nick Collison. I don't know what exactly Nick Collison does behind the scenes, but it's pretty clear that those guys have built some sort of relationship with him. I think it was Wiggins that mentioned him in his speech, and then Hartenstein wearing the T-shirt with Nick Collison's face on
bloody
it.
Face.
Bloody, that's unbelievable.
Caruso's shirt was pretty awesome too.
Well, of just
With
his face.
His head's
He
on
was on all the Mount
Rush-
Rushmores, yeah.
Mount Rushmores.
Yeah.
Whole thing's special. Cried a lot.
I cried too, yeah. Chris Oven made an unbelievable
Yeah, it was
photo
really
today.
good. Really good.
Go check that out.
The whole thing
his
is
social media.
I don't think that I'm going to be able to stop watching the content for the next couple weeks, and that will just lead into Nikola Topic playing in the Summer League. So we go from championship to Topic, who might have the best NBA career of all time. He hasn't logged a minute. He already won a ring.
I think he
Guys,
could get traded
we're
tonight.
pre-draft. Are they trading up?
Topic?
Let's just all get it out there.
The what?
Are they trading up?
Are they
he said?
trading up
tonight?
in the draft?
I think they will.
We think they're going to make a move.
I usually don't care about the draft. I really don't care about the draft tonight unless they do something crazy. But if Presti trades away one of those guys that just won the championship, he's flat out confirmed the biggest psycho in the world. And I know you're looking at the future and all that, but be incredible.
Did you see that? I think it was the Bill Simmons podcast where I don't know who it was that came on with him, but basically it was Sam Presti could leave in a year. He's the biggest free agent in the NBA because he could leave and go back to Seattle when they expand.
I mean, I think that is
Bill
something
Simmons would say that.
seems like a conversation that somebody would have 48 hours after the NBA championship is over and they have nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
Why? What would be the purpose? He's set up a life in Oklahoma City. That's just... And what can he accomplish anywhere else that he can't accomplish in Oklahoma City?
Well, and you got to think, too, this young of a team, he wants to see this through. He wants to see how many championships they can win.
The other thing, too, and Eddie kind of mentioned it in his ad read there, but one of the biggest things we've learned from this entire playoff run is that the Denver Nuggets have some incredibly stupid fans.
I mean, I got my fill of the Pacers fans after they lost. It's the damn 4U.
I didn't have any problems with the Pacer fans.
Hat tip to the Pacers. That sucks the way that your season ended. Had a hell of a team, hell of a run. I feel terrible for Halliburton, but it was good to win. It was good to end their year.
There's so many teams that are screwed next year because they had late injuries. I mean,
look what the Celtics are doing.
Yeah,
they're having to retool
blowing it
a little
up.
bit. Should be interesting
I don't know
tonight.
that we even had a chance to talk about it. When Halliburton went down, it was okay, they're going to win this. Then at halftime, it's oh God, this would be the worst thing this would be so much worse than losing to Halliburton. It was this can't actually go this way.
I wasn't confident they were going to win until they took out the starters.
I was super confident, but I also had 10 Coors Lights.
Yeah, I had to get to under 4 minutes before I even started feeling like this could happen.
It was just an awesome scene. Happy
And
for
yesterday
Clay
was
Bennett
awesome.
and
It was-
Sam Presti, all those guys.
Yeah, yesterday was awesome. I mean, great seeing everybody get to celebrate together. And just great seeing those players. I mean, that they had so much. Here's the thing.
They just seem, it's so easy to say, but it just seems like they really do love each other and they're the best individuals ever.
Yeah. Well, it
I
also
know that
shows you
Shea's a great dude and J-Dub's a great dude. Chet's a great dude.
and I wondered how hard are these guys going to go at this, celebration, parade, because they're young and it's all that stuff after they won where Jay Will didn't like the taste of beer and you're how could you not know how beer tastes?
He was asking for the tequila. I know that man has partied in Fayetteville.
And it was also, J-Dub, announcing this is the first time he never had alcohol.
It's insane.
And he also said, I want to do that a lot more, which I thought was fantastic.
So funny.
But so they're kind of young and young and reserved.
There's a level of innocence that they definitely still have, even though they've reached the top of the mountain.
Dudes went hard. Yeah. I mean, and it shows you how hard it is to win a world championship. To party that hard, you know how hard they worked to get to where they are.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Unbelievable. Pretty cool. I don't think it's really
I did
sunk
want
in.
to I know we need to move on, but Sooner Wink, one of our longtime members, a guy I actually know personally, grew up with him, shared a story of them being last night. Eddie, what's the name of the place?
Birdies. They went to Birdies.
And some kids were apparently there looking for an autograph, and the staff was going to kind of shoo them away because, I mean, those guys have been on the parade. They've done the whole thing. Chet and Dub waved them back in there to sign all the autographs for the kids and do all that stuff, and obviously didn't have to do it. And it just kind of they really are. I mean, they're Oklahoma City kind of guys. They're just cool and chill, and I don't know, that stuff. I guess as a parent touches me. I just think that's really amazing.
They're legends. I mean, all 15 of those guys, they're legends now. They're going to be tied to the city forever.
Can't wait for Alex Dukas Day.
It's going to be awesome.
July 8th.
Every one of them gets a day.
I'm Brandon Carlson Day kind of guy. That's me.
It is funny too how
dude, I love Brandon Carlson.
Mayor Holt definitely put them almost in order of how
he
good they
gave
are.
a power ranking. Yeah. He gave his own power ranking.
Well, you know what's crazy? I was telling George this earlier. Our guy Teabag, he was inside the barriers the whole day because the sports animal.
Yeah, I was surprised he was able to walk. I thought he'd just be rock hard the entire time.
He worked his ass off following those guys. But yes.
I don't know how he was alive because when I saw him on Sunday night when we FaceTimed you from the Jones, I thought he was on his deathbed.
He puked that morning and everything in the middle of the show. I mean, he rallied. He rallied well, and he did a great job. He got some Sports Center was reposting some of his stuff on Instagram.
That's awesome.
But he didn't know what to do, and he was trying to be real careful. And then Brandon Carlson was carrying around the trophy, and the first thing he did is he looked back. He's like, "You want to touch this? You want to hold this?" And so he got to hold the trophy, and Brandon Carlson just became his best friend.
I think there's a certain level too of the way that they've celebrated. It would be how you would think 23, 24-year-olds would.
Yeah.
Out off the boat, but the bus, celebrating it with the fans, which I thought was kind of the coolest part.
And Shay taking all the pictures with kids and stuff. And
Shay's just an unbelievable
Hartenstein
person.
took a kid out of the crowd and lifted it like the Lion King.
Yeah, did you see the kid that he picked up that was crying? They brought the kid on News 9 this morning, and Hartenstein made a video for him, and then he signed a jersey and gave it to him,
wow.
which was awesome.
That is awesome.
Every time that I think that I'm going to stop crying, I keep crying. It's crazy. I don't think I'm pregnant. I think I'm just happy about
maybe your T's a little low.
Guys, I've never seen Eddie that's as vulnerable as I've ever seen Eddie. To admit that he cried about that. That's not him.
I don't know, man. When you get older, you cry more. I don't know what that is, but
my children have never seen me cry. They were talking about that the other day.
You won't catch him dead in a championship T-shirt, though.
Eddie.
I'm just and here's another thing. I'm not much of a T-shirt guy in general.
Yeah,
how many times do you see me wear a T-shirt?
You never wear T-shirts. That's true. But what about would you get one of those polos with says Thunder Champions on it?
Probably not.
Yeah. Well,
I will say
I don't judge anybody that does though.
When Brian invited us to the game, Eddie was the only one wearing Thunder gear.
I was wearing a Thunder hat.
Okay, but he was wearing the shirt.
I didn't know if I needed to dress up.
Brian was on a boat yesterday.
Yes, he was.
I don't know why I keep calling him boats. He was on a bus yesterday.
He saw me because I was
really?
Well, because they go by and most of the people in the crowd don't know who any of those people are up there. And I saw him. I was just yelling his name, and he sasaw me and waved, and he DM'd me after and said, "Hey, I saw you in the crowd."
What a moment!
Yeah,
it was cool. The only thing that I would say, on the parade stuff, that constructive criticism, we need to figure out a way to get like everybody over to Scissortail in a timely manner, because I guess I just didn't get there early enough. I had radio in the morning, and I wasn't able to go like join all my friends that had a great viewing position on top of
There's no way around because they had the streets. You couldn't cross
it was just
the street.
It was our first parade. We got to learn from it.
You know, shout out to the police and SWAT. They did a great job.
We didn't have a single like situation.
No, there was like some minor.
In today's world, that's kind of awesome.
You think about that stuff, you know?
Oh, I thought about it, before going down there. I mean, but just some disorderly conduct stuff and public drunkenness.
Had snipers everywhere.
Yeah, I noticed
every
that.
building.
How do you get a disorderly conduct at a parade? Like,
you have to be a real asshole.
How shit-faced
the cops were
you?
Yeah, I was about to say, because the cops over by us at least were really cool, because I was like,
Yeah.
hey, I can drink this, right? And the cop was like, yeah, just don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
And I was
They had
like,
a bunch of people from around, like I saw Tulsa, Norman, Moore, just like every city that you could think of supplied officers to help. So it was awesome. It's been an incredible 72 hours, 4 days here in Oklahoma City.
All right. Other things, other commitments, Josh. Let's hit on those real quick. I know there was more than just Bowe Bentley this weekend, and
Jandreau. We'll start there.
OU officially has a set of Jandreaus now.
They land the big linebacker from Chandler Hamilton. Boy, that came out bad. Obviously, the twin brother of Nico. Bowe is a guy that, again, like I thought I thought they liked him, but talking to some people, they really like that's a commitment they're really excited about. I think, obviously all the attention from the weekend is going to be Bowe Bentley, but I think there's plenty of people there that think that guy could maybe someday be kind of the, I'm not saying like the Bowe Bentley of the defense, but like a leader on that defense. They really believe in him. Obviously,
kind of some Danny Stutzman vibes, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. And again, like we talked about on the recruiting report, you're not going to outwork the dude. Like, I mean, he's going to be there. He's going to be a Jerry Schmidt favorite. I mean, he's a guy that will do the work.
His arms are crazy.
Yeah, just nuts. Just absolutely nuts. He was telling somebody, he and Nico, they work out 6 days a week, twice a day.
What?
I mean, so they are just absolute monsters.
6 days a week?
They're 2 days,
yes.
6 days a week?
Yes. And I know talking to Bowe yesterday, they're doing some team camp thing at Hamilton where they're like basically engaged with some kind of football stuff from 6 a.m. to like 11 p.m. for the entire week. Like, so I don't know if it's a training session. I don't know what it is, but it's like they are militant about their work. There's absolutely no question about it.
It's a really good program out there too, isn't it?
Yeah. Hamilton's one of the better programs in Arizona, has been for a long time. The guy, I will say, just to move to a different commitment, the guy that I am just really impressed with Oklahoma going to get, and a guy that I think is one of those dudes that's really undervalued, is the Daniel Norman kid from St. Thomas Aquinas. I think that's a big win for Oklahoma to go and get him. I went and watched his tape, did the commit breakdown for the story. On three's got him as a top 150 guy in the country, and nobody else has him, anywhere near that range. And I'm telling you, this guy he's bendy, he's long, like all the stuff you're looking for in an edge rusher, he's all that stuff. And, if you talk, like he looks big, like he's listed at 6'4", 220. That looks a little light to me. He looks a little bigger than that. But, I see maybe like a Frank Alexander kind of body type, like that big, long arm, long legged guy. But I think he's way, what's that?
He's that big?
Frank's probably a little taller.
Okay.
God, Frank had I bet you Frank's could have been an NBA player with his arms. Like he was so long. But like that same kind of longer, rangier, but he's also twitchier than Frank was. Like this is a guy that can sink, change direction. Like there's a lot of stuff there. You're getting a guy from South Florida, guys. They just have sometimes you just see stuff that you don't see in other places in the country, and he looks like one of those guys. So if Oklahoma can, go ahead and sign him, get him on campus, I think this could be a guy that's 2 years from now, we kind of look back and say that was a lot bigger win than we realized.
The other thing that I kind of took from this weekend, Josh, and I think we talked about it a little bit in the War Room last night, and I saw more than just one picture, but man, I really like physically how Ryder Mix is coming along.
He looks like a tank, man. Talking to, him and his dad, I thought they loved their visit. I mean, everything went really well. They were, and, for those that, like may wonder, like, well, what's it like for a player like him when, there's other guys there, and OU's obviously recruiting other tight ends. Tyler Ruxer's a guy that we'll talk about for the next few weeks as he gets closer to his decision. And Zach Turner was there, who's kind of a wide receiver, tight end type of guy. Ryder was working on those guys. Ryder's trying to get them in with him. Like he is, because he's a guy that he's like, I'll go compete with anybody. Like, I mean, that's just what he believes in. That's the kind of dude he is. And, I know talking to them, they felt good about several guys that visited OU over the weekend. So we'll see, what kind of comes. But again, Ryder he's one of those guys, he committed so early and it was kind of known, obviously his dad playing at Oklahoma and there's a lot of connection there. He's a better player, I think, than people give him credit for. Like he is he's a hand in the box tight end. He's a guy that the worst case scenario, they could use him exactly as Ben Arbuckle has been using tight ends at Washington State the last few years. He could be an H-back. He could be an inline tight end. Even in some situations, you could flex him. I know at Lone Star, they put him in the backfield sometimes. Like they do some different stuff with him. So he's not a guy that you're going to put in a position he's like, I don't feel comfortable where I'm at on the field. He's lined up all over the place.
Hey, it's Paris. I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and Auto Camp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
All right, let's get greedy. What's next? Obviously, we went over the schedule on the recruiting report on Monday, but I guess let's just go in order here. Danny Odom committed to Nebraska. We knew that. We talked about it a little bit. That was expected. Dallas Dickerson coming up on June 24th. Oh, where'd he go yesterday? I missed that. Where'd he go yesterday?
He picked Kentucky.
I was at a parade all day. No big deal.
Yeah. You were living your best life. That's okay.
All right. Now we'll start talking about the future. Desmond Green coming up on the 26th, as well as Craig Dandridge leading into Deacon Schmidt on June 28th.
Yeah. So you've got Desmond Green. Oklahoma really did a nice job there. Got multiple visits. Got him on campus several times. I just kind of think it ended up being, I think Florida just is probably going to win that race. Like, okay. I mean, I could go into the reasoning. I don't think anybody cares. Pass, he's probably not coming to Oklahoma. Craig Dandridge, that's a little more interesting.
We talked about the wide receiver stuff on the recruiting report because there are many tentacles that go into this thing. Sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, no, you're fine. Because, I mean, you look at the list, we've got a lot of these guys are receivers. A lot of the names that OU's still looking at because they've got a lot of room to take some bodies in that room after signing 2 in 2025. So Dandridge, Georgia Tech is there. I kind of struggle to think it's going to be anybody but Georgia. But to me, if it's not Georgia, I kind of think it's going to be Oklahoma. Like I really do think they made a big impression. I think he really likes OU. I just think he's going to end up at Georgia. And that's kind of one of those things where I think Oklahoma thought the visit weekend went as well as it could have. And in the end, it's just like Georgia's really pushing for him. He's an in-state guy. They're going to put everything they can into it, from recruiting to NIL, whatever you want to say.
Okay, I'm 0 for 2 right now. Let's go good news. Deacon Schmidt. Colorado, the home state, Alabama, Oklahoma, the final 3 for the offensive tackle out of Windsor, Colorado.
Yeah, this is a guy Oklahoma has pretty much made him their tackle recruit, guys. It's one of those guys where you're like, if you're Oklahoma, you can't afford to lose this race, like, because they're going to have to go back to the drawing board at offensive tackle if they miss on him. They're going to have to refigure their whole thinking. And I get, like they got Fasusi last year. They brought in a couple of young, they brought in Luke Backlinko. They brought in some youth at the tackle position. So they were never going to have to go crazy in this class. But from my understanding, I get the impression this is, if it's anybody that's battling Oklahoma, it may be Colorado. It may be the in-state school. I feel really good about where Oklahoma's at. I'm pretty close to putting in a prediction for him. I think Oklahoma's in really strong shape for Deacon Schmidt.
Big win for Bill Beane, Beau? Like, is he starting to get a little bit more juice back than from where we were maybe, 12 months ago? And this was before Fasusi, before Foj. We saw what was out on the field. It just seems like he's finding his footing a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I will tell you guys, people will look at Deacon Schmidt's rankings and that kind of stuff, because I don't. Yeah, not a single outlet on 3, 24/7, ESPN, Rivals, nobody has him as a top 250 player in the country. Not one. But I can tell you flat out, there are a lot of people around Norman that think he's really stinking good. Like, they think he is really undervalued. Now, we got to see. That doesn't mean anything until it all happens. But this is a guy, another one of the, we've talked about it before. He trains with Matt McChesney, the coach from the Colorado area. Also coached Josh Bates, Brett Collegier. I mean, he's coached a lot of guys that Oklahoma has recruited through the years. And I just think this is a really well-versed kid. He's kind of nasty. He's got some physicality to him. In short, he fits Bill Beane really, really well.
Josh, what about Braden Presley, the youngest Presley brother? I think he's announcing July 3rd.
Yeah,
right?
That's correct.
That is correct. And I should say, to tease it a little bit for people, probably by the time you're hearing this, if you haven't checked out the corner in a little while, get over there. I'll have Oklahoma up. It's a little late today. It just kind of happened that way. But there are going to be notes on both Deacon Schmidt and Braden Presley. And I kind of think Oklahoma may pull off a steal here with Braden Presley. And I can tell you 24 hours ago, that was not my tune. I was kind of thinking Oklahoma State after talking to Braden and kind of having some conversations. But based on some things he said that maybe I didn't pick up on, or maybe I took in a different way than he meant them, I talked to a few other sources. And I have this sneaking suspicion that if OU's battling somebody, it might be Texas Tech. That's just a gut feeling. So we'll watch it, but I don't think Oklahoma State should be considered the shoe-in here at all. Like, I don't know. I got some vibes from some people that maybe that wasn't exactly where his head was at. But again, that could also be a kid like we talked about when he wears the Oklahoma State shirt when I interview him.
Sure.
And it was like I'm just happen to be wearing it, that kind of thing. When you have his connection to a university, you have to work really hard to convince everybody that's not what you're automatically going to do.
And Josh, would he play corner, safety? Where would he play?
My impression is he would I think they would give him a look at corner, because I really think that's what he wants to do. I think ultimately he probably ends up as a safety. I think that's probably where he ends up, but that may be somewhat reliant on who else they get in this class. Like, maybe they find a guy, but they don't have a huge need at either position. I mean, they're pretty well stocked, even in the in the younger years, with some good safeties, the Jaden Hardys, the Boganowskis, the Reggie Powers. You go down that list, and even at corner, they've got Tristan Haynes. They've got a guy like Cortland Guillory, who we think might find a way on the field this year, kind of thing. So I think they can be pretty patient with him and kind of let it work out. I think safety, just because I think he's a natural just playmaker. You just want him kind of, I'm not comparing him to this player, but kind of like a Billy Bowman, where like you just want him looking at the field and making decisions.
You talked about Ryder Bix being back in town. It would seem that there's a possibility that Oklahoma is in pretty good standing with another tight end, and that's Tyler Ruxer, a name that we've talked about here. I think over the last couple months, more seriously for Oklahoma. It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I hate to do it again, but it just seems like the positivity around the tight end unit right now and Joe John Finley, it can't be ignored. Like, it seems like they're doing some pretty good things in the recruiting level. What's your level of confidence? Is it still there with Tyler Ruxer, who will make his announcement here coming up in, I guess it'd be a couple weeks, but July 7th is when he is on the books.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, and I do. I still feel really good about where OU is with Tyler Ruxer. I'll actually have an interview up with him in the next day or so. One that's I've kind of gotten delayed on with all the visit weekend stuff, but I need to get it up. Really likes OU. I think he loved the visit. Talked about, the first time he came down for his unofficial back in May, he glowed about it, and it was so sure. Okay, I'm taking my OU official. He set it up for June 6th, and since then, guys, he had 3 officials set up beyond that OU official. To my knowledge, he didn't take any of them. I don't think he went on a single more official visit. I think we can read between the lines a little bit on that kind of deal. Maybe something will happen. Maybe OU shocks me with Zach Turner. There's a question of, do they take Turner and Ruxer? I think they would. I don't think they're really related. I think Zach Turner in OU's eyes is a wide receiver. But if there's that question, maybe something changes. But I think Tyler Ruxer is a guy OU fans can feel pretty good about.
It would seem that if the quarterback situation was like the big question mark going into the rest of this recruiting class, is it maybe as simple as just saying the wide receiver position is kind of that next little examination of, okay, what are they actually doing here? There's a lot of different guys for what we think is a minimal amount of spots.
What scares me, Eddie, is I feel like I'm saying the same things right now about receiver that I was saying about defensive tackle 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Where it was like, well, they're going to get good players. I don't know who they're going to be yet, but they're going to get good players. Well, now we stand here, the defensive tackle room has one commitment in Brian Harris, who I think is a good player and kind of a guy that I think OU fans should be excited about. At the same time, looks like they're passing on Taj Overton. They did not get Valdon Sone to come in for an official visit. They missed on Tavian Branch, picked Rutgers. Like, you start going down the list and you're like, okay, numbers are starting to dwindle here. Who is it going to be the guy? At receiver, I feel really good about 4 or 5 guys, but they got to close the deal. I would say Jordan Clay feels like that's going to be an OU Baylor battle. I kind of feel the same way on Davian Gross that came in on June 6th. Ryder Mix's teammate, Frisco Lone Star. I think Oklahoma has every reason to feel like they're probably in front on Davian Gross. I've heard some good kind of buzz about that situation. With Jordan Clay, something just tells me ends up at Baylor. I think they've had a lead for so long, and there's a really good relationship there. I think that may be kind of tough to overcome. But then again, so, then you move into Jordan Pettit, who I think Oklahoma still leads for. Looks like they're kind of battling Missouri. But I know, he's one of those guys Bowe Bentley's been tweeting at and getting active with, and I think trying to now kind of build a relationship. So if you get Gross, you get Pettit, you hold on to Daniel Odom, I don't know that I care a lot what you do outside of that. Like, you've got a really good core 3 there. And then if you could find a way to pull off Craig Dandridge tomorrow, or if you can surprise me with Jordan Clay or one of a couple other guys, maybe they get those 3, miss out on the rest of the guys that I'm talking about, and they go back to Dallas Dickerson and say, hey, maybe we didn't have the NIL to match Kentucky, but now we've got a little freed up. We've got a little more in the room than we were expecting to give you. We can do this. Would you be interested? You can kind of have those conversations.
Josh, I got a big picture question for you. and I can't remember who it was that asked me on the board about this, but you're seeing OU maybe pass on some guys that in the past they would have just, taken and maybe paid up a little extra money, somebody like a Taj Overton or, Caden Jones, OK Preps kids, Dallas Dickerson, whoever it is. Are they playing almost like a money ball situation? That was the question that was phrased to me. It's like OU trying to be the Oakland A's and do this money ball deal where they put value on certain players or positions and maybe they pass on other guys. I don't think it's to that extreme like Moneyball in the movie and all of that. But it does seem like they have a very clear value system, and there's certain players they're willing to maybe overspend for or spend a lot of money on. And then there's other players or positions that they're not willing to, break the bank on. Do you get that same read?
I do. And what I like, George, is we've talked about this over the last few years. It felt like OU would have a problem in the prior year, and they would chase that problem rather than looking at what the problem was about to be and kind of addressing that. Like, okay, last year offensive line was really bad. We're going to pay through the nose for Michael Fasusi and Ryan Foje. And I'm not saying we all know what I think of offensive line and how important that is. So I'm not begrudging that at all. But there wasn't the urgency the year before when we knew there could be a problem. We knew the offensive line was the real question of that team going into 2024. And it was kind of like, we can shape this together. I feel like now you see a clear plan. Like, we're doing this. This is what we're willing to spend. This is what we're willing to allocate in resources in, our offer list. Like, there is a clear path to kind of what they're thinking. And I know right now people are a little frustrated because, OU, Will Conroy flips his commitment to North Carolina. And then Devin Robinson last night picks TCU over Oklahoma. So it's like, well, what's going on in the interior offensive line? If there's a position on the field, maybe outside of linebacker, I would say, that you can find more guys who can play at the level you need to compete, it's interior offensive line. You can, I don't want to say fake it, but you can find guys who are good enough to do the job you need them to do. They're not going to be All-Americans. They're not going to be first-round NFL picks, but you don't need to go and spend an insane amount of money for the difference between a Will Conroy and a reasonable replacement for him. Like, you can get – the gap is not big enough to justify the difference in pay.
Is it the same – I don't want to say it's the exact same for wide receiver, but it does feel like that position, and you see it in the transfer portal all the time, where guys are getting way overpaid for what they actually produce on the field at that position. And it's because it's a big, flashy position. I mean, you see it in the NFL, right? These guys get paid a ridiculous amount of money. Does Oklahoma maybe view that the same way, where they're in on, it seems like 7, 8 guys, and the reality is if you can just get any 3 of them, you feel good about it. And if you miss on a couple of them, there's plenty of guys down in the DFW area, really that can play that position that you can go get, and they can be a nice player for you.
Absolutely. Because to me, I know people see it and they're like, oh, well, you got to get the premier receiver. And don't get me wrong. I think that that's a valid point. You have to be good and have, playmakers on the outside. You 100% do. But there's a lot of guys. I mean, go to any OU camp, guys. Think about any OU camp we've been at the last few summers. Look at the numbers in the line at wide receiver and look at the numbers at corner.
Yeah.
That plays out everywhere you go. There's 4 receivers on every team for every corner. Like that's just the way it goes. So you are there, and I know like not all those guys can play at OU's level, but if you just do the math in gross, you're going to find more receivers than you're going to find corners, or you're going to find offensive linemen or defensive linemen. There are guys who can play. And so don't kill yourself there. Maybe go get that one elite guy. If you've got a shot at a Jeremiah Smith, yeah, do what you got to do. But like in general, you can find guys. And what I think, and again, we don't have enough data to support this. I'm not saying this is the case. But what I find really interesting is there seems to be a real sweet spot for Oklahoma recruiting receiver frankly, the last couple years, and I'm wondering if this was something OU kind of came to or if it just worked out this way. That I don't know. I'd love to have an answer to it. But kind of in that range from like 50 to 250. Well, there's a lot of guys that are really good players. They're kind of, I wouldn't say interchangeable, but they're similar in their talent level. And are they the Jeremiah Smiths? Are they the Ryan Williams at Alabama? No. But they're really good. You can win a lot of games with them, and you don't have to pay an absolutely absurd amount of money to have those guys. So you can have 4 of those for the price of one Jeremiah Smith. And is that what you'd prefer to do?
I think the other thing, too, just to wrap this up somewhat in big picture talk here, like, we're not saying that this new front office or the coaching staff or whatever is not going to miss on some of these evaluations, right? Like if you told us that Caden Jones or Taj Overton or, you know, some of these guys that may end up at Oklahoma State or Devin Robinson who went to TCU, if you told us these guys ended up being really good players at those programs, that wouldn't be a surprise to any of us. But I do think that it's pretty clear Oklahoma has a very strong value system in what they're putting the value on these players, and they're working within that. And I really don't think we're going to know if it's the right value system or if they're making the right evaluations for some time. Like, I think one thing that people have to remember, especially with this front office staff, they were just hired like this last month or two. I know Nagy's been on the job for now a couple months, but they're trying to piece together this 2026 class with the coaching staff that already kind of had some targets. They're trying to put this thing together in just a few short months. I think we'll have a better idea, Josh, and maybe I'm wrong, of what this front office looks like, the direction of it, how they want to operate in high school recruiting next summer, because they'll have a much clearer, vision. They'll spend more time on which guys they actually want to go after. Whereas right now it does feel, at least from the outside, that it is a little chaotic. Like there's new guys popping up that maybe that the front office has identified that they want to recruit. There's guys that maybe the coaching staff was recruiting that they're kind of like, hey, maybe we should go in a different direction. Mason James is an obvious example of that. Like I think that, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is it feels a little crazy right now, but I do think some patience is warranted, and also know that, yes, they are going to miss on some of their evals. They're not going to be 100% on all of these guys.
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, go ahead, Eddie.
No,
I was going to say just the perfect way to think of this. They're in 2026. They're building the plane while they're flying it. Like I mean, like that is what is happening. The class is coming together, and they're still putting together like, okay, this is what we're looking for. These are the things we're going to value. This is how we want this to work. Like there's, again, guys, there was was it Stacey Ford that's been there for he'd been hired like 2 days before the start of camp.
Yeah.
And then he's out there evaluating and doing that stuff. He hasn't had a chance to lay it all out with Jim Nagy on like, okay, this is what this is what we're looking for at linebacker. This is what Bill Beane sees for our interior offensive linemen. Like they haven't nailed all that down yet. That's crazy to even expect it. So, but I think you're dead right, George. People thinking that like, this staff doesn't have any illusions. They know they're going to miss on evaluations. We watch it in the NFL all the time. Guys with infinitely more tape to go off of against more like level players where, instead of you're watching, some 5-star go against, a bunch of little kids from, the suburbs, you're watching, Clemson guys play against South Carolina guys where you're getting some real test and kind of get to see what it looks like. They make mistakes in evaluations all the time. That's gonna happen. Like that, I think anybody expecting that to be just insanely different from what it has been is crazy. But if you can get 2 more quality players out of your 25-man class than the other guy over a year, like over 4 years, you're talking about almost a starting defense. Like if you can just get a couple more wins, a couple more players that you hit on that other guys aren't. That's huge. It feels small, but it's massive. So I think people have to have it in the right perspective. The other thing I want to say, I think people, and there's a few members on the board, and if they're listening, they know I'm talking to them, that have this impression that because Jim Nagy understands the budget, knows what he's working with, that he's telling OU not to recruit elite recruits. or telling the coaching staff we're not going after.
That's not happening.
That's not what's happening here. That's not happening at all. It's an insane thing to believe. If OU's number one guy in the country is On3's number one guy in the country, fine. But OU is not going to base their evaluation off of a ranking system. They're just not going to do that. And I think it's smart, and I shouldn't be saying that working for who I work for and doing the job I've done for 20 years. But you have to make your own evaluations, because if you're trusting somebody else, there's no reason for you to be there.
I would also say, Josh, just on top of that this idea that they're choosing not to recruit top 100 players, I get that question every week, is crazy, because it's one, like, again, you're flying the plane as you're building it. Like, to get a top 100 recruit, you probably needed to be recruiting them a little while ago, right? Like, you can't just jump in all of a sudden with a couple months left and try and get a kid. And by the way, they are recruiting top 100 players. I mean, Jake Kreul's top 100 player.
Sure.
Obviously, Bowe Bentley, who they just got, is considered maybe the best quarterback in the country. Like, they are. And again, they have a budget. The reality is Oklahoma's not going to be landing 10 guys in the top 100 every year. Now, if you can get a handful, right? If you can get 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, that'd be great. Oklahoma can do that. But this idea that they should be recruiting every guy in the top 100 is just not realistic, and especially not when the front office staff was just hired.
I would also say, too, like, Moneyball is a good example, and I know that we're kind of using it here. The thing that gets lost in the mix, and Josh, I think you would be able to agree with this, it was not mentioned in the movie. They also had one of the best starting rotations in the sport of baseball at the time with Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder, and Barry Zito.
Well, and
those guys won Rookie of the Year.
That ruins a good story, Eddie. You can't have that in the story. That ruins the whole method.
But I think we are saying that, though, in that you still have to go get exceptional players if you're going to compete at that level. You can fill in the void, though, by using good evaluation, by using analytics to see what you're getting or what the numbers tell you a player is.
I would also argue, and Josh, you know better than anyone, there are more good players now playing the sport than there's probably ever been. So, like, you can find guys that maybe aren't as highly rated as maybe previous years. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong thing, but it feels like there's just so many more good players that can develop into great players. I don't know. I think that the one thing is clear, though. They pretty clearly have, like, some direction and organization in terms of how they're going to do this and the process of how they're doing it. So I think that's a good thing. We just don't know what the payoff's going to be for some time. And it ultimately comes down to what we've all said. They'll be in on a lot more top 100 kids next year if they go win 10 football games this year. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we're talking about somebody like KJ Ford out of Duncanville, they start winning football games, all of a sudden, I think that becomes even more real than maybe we even know right now or have talked about, as we did on the recruiting report this week, talking about KJ Ford and a possible maybe more interest than has been put out there.
Imagine if they go out, because he's coming in the Michigan week, imagine they go out and they beat Michigan by 2 or 3 touchdowns. How big would that be? I mean, that'd be huge.
Sure. Okay.
You do that, and then you roll into Texas, 5-0?
Yeah.
Guys, OU's going to be a top 15 team.
Well, if they're able to get through Temple and Illinois State.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. That's a brutal road trip to Philadelphia. It always is. But, yeah, I mean, you start putting that stuff together. I will say I don't think OU's biggest problem is NIL. I don't think OU's biggest problem is their coaching staff doesn't recruit well. I think they're having to fight against a lot of other schools trying to poke holes in where OU is right now, and they're having to fight against the first year in the SEC did not go the way anyone would have dreamed it would have. And people have, again, like I said the other day, if that was year 5 for OU in the SEC and the first 4 were solid, good years, it wouldn't have meant as much. But because it's the only data point any of these players have, the other coaching staffs are just killing them with it. Like they're just clobbering like, oh, well, this is what OU is in the SEC, which I don't think anybody actually believes.
I've kind of heard what you guys were talking about. Sorry, I had some business stuff I had to attend to, but I was saying this the other day. Like, I think this is the most important year for Oklahoma football since 1999, and I don't even think there's a doubt. I mean, that's 26 years.
I would agree,
because there's I'll tell you this. There's a lot of things like NIL is there, and that's morphing and changing by the day depending on what happens with the courts. But I think OU is really committed to this West Side Stadium project, and they want to be able to raise money for that. And you're just not going to be able to do that if the fan base has the same feeling that they had after this season ended, this last one. Like, this is not just for recruiting, but also for NIL, also for, facilities. Like, they still want to do all that stuff. And they can't do that if they're hiring a new coach and trying to see where they're going. I think they're solid with Nagy and what he's doing. I haven't spent that much time around Randall Stevenson. He spoke some out at the Night with Nagy thing. He strikes me as a guy that will chop your head off if he has to. And I think, he's used to getting rid of dead weight if it's going to drag him down with him. And I think the new people in the athletic department don't have any kind of emotional connections or ties to Brent Venables.
There's a lot, and we've talked about this before, but I said it kind of going into these last couple years. A lot of Oklahoma's problems, I feel like, have been kind of created by themselves in that they were a victim of their own success. And I think that just showing up and winning the Big 12 was great, but I think that there was a lot of people that
they got comfortable.
And it masks some issues maybe that they had.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And the only time that you ever really had to look in the mirror was when you got embarrassed in a bowl game by one of these programs that was doing it the right way. And I think that they're finally headed in the direction that it feels like they are headed in a positive direction. It's just you're going to have to wait and see. And I know that does nothing for anybody, but it's kind of the spot that they're in right now.
It's crazy to say this, but like we got so much, there was so much joy kind of taken out of, even though it was a loss, out of the Rose Bowl, and like how close Oklahoma was to getting to a national championship game. If this would have happened, that would have happened, they would have made it. But when you look back at it now, that defense was so screwed up. They were so far away from winning a national championship. I think they would have won the national championship if they win that game. I don't know. I mean,
who cares?
Another team that got to look at that defense. I'm just saying, there have been times that we thought it's like the masking thing, masking issues. The issues on the defense were so terrible, and no one knew how to fix it. OU wasn't really as close as I think anybody thinks that they were then. Even I would say
they were close because they had a historically great offense.
Yes.
And that masked a lot of the problems that they were having elsewhere.
But before and after, you still have not seen a team win a national championship with a historically great offense and a terrible defense. I mean, LSU might have been able to do it.
I think that it's just hard to have this conversation because I think nowadays you're not getting out of the first round of the college football playoff. Then you only had to win 2 games and you get through, right?
And it's different.
It's just different.
It's also different talking about then versus now in terms of like roster building. Like you don't build your roster the same way that you did 5, 6, 7 years ago. Like it's totally different. And so OU's approach to it, the way they're managing their roster and building it now, is fascinating because it's totally different than what we've ever seen in the program, and I mean across the sport, but especially at OU when you have people that ultimately are making the decisions for the coaches in terms of who they're recruiting in a lot of ways.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like you have a change of coaching staff. Like all of these 3 stars that have been evaluated or are being evaluated now that Nagy likes. Yeah, like we need a couple of years to judge the evaluations that are being made now. I mean, we need to see some of these guys that are 3 stars that we need to see them grow into the best players on the team so we can go, oh, Nagy really does know what he's doing.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that the coaches aren't making any decisions because they are. I mean, some of these kids are guys that they identify. I mean,
it's not all Nagy.
Bowe Bentley was a Ben Arbuckle. I mean, that was clearly a Ben Arbuckle evaluation. So, it's supposed to be collaborative, but it's pretty clear that like a lot of the guys that they're going after, or many of these guys are guys that the front office people have signed off on or identified.
Yeah, I totally that way. Exactly. So So anyway, I'm sorry. I just jumped in and interrupted the conversation that was going on. Now we have kids.
That was a good time.
Hi, girls.
Back to normal.
Are they
The
gonna talk?
girls.
They just got back from the pool. They've been swimming.
Yeah, pool hair.
You have pool hair, Carey is noticing.
The next Katie Ledecky standing there.
Oh, I believe me. I tried to get Lainey into swimming. I tried really hard.
It's all right. They're going to play golf.
You are a problem.
They're going to play golf.
They did I tell you that, Eddie, that I got them a golf sets for Christmas? That's something we've been working on a little bit. Yep.
Just need to join a country club now.
That's what I need. Nothing. Hey, go on.
I'm really surprised you didn't use Leah Thomas as your example.
I'm just so exhausted mentally that after you win a championship, you realize the important things in life. And out-of-line jokes aren't it.
You really are an emotional wreck.
He is in a moment right now.
I went to Mass today. Things are changing.
I don't know what I missed, so
tons of recruiting.
Just recruiting talk. Before
it was just Josh wearing everybody
we were talking about OU and Moneyball. Somebody had asked George in one of the board chats or the mailbag this week that's now up on Sooner Scoop if you want to read it. Kind of cool, and we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it as we kind of get to the end of this, but kind of cool for Jeremiah Fears. I mean, he's legitimately going to go in the top 10, top 7 possibly tonight, top 5 possibly, which is just kind of still insane to me, considering where this thing was mid-February when I fired Porter and then rehired him a couple weeks later. And just kind of the turnaround. Bob wrote about it today, but the turnaround that Jeremiah Fears had that kind of led Oklahoma to get to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Pretty cool, and it should be some good, publicity for Oklahoma tonight. I think Porter's supposed to be in the green room with the Fears family, so kind of cool.
Where is the NBA draft? Is it New York?
Brooklyn.
Yeah,
it's at the Nets arena.
Is it there every year?
It now it is.
Yeah.
It used to be at Madison Square, isn't it? Or was it? NFL did theirs at Radio City Music Hall, and then I think the NBA was at Madison Square. I can't remember though.
Barclays Center, right?
That's Barclays is the Nets.
All right. By the way, terrible news on Jalen Moore.
Awful.
That sucks, man.
I'm telling you, there's a rash amount of Achilles right now. That's just, it's kind of weird. Put Halliburton, obviously, Dame Lillard,
Tatum,
Jason Tatum at the end in the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot of teams in the East right now.
I think you're getting to a point where you have the calf injury or something with the calf needs to be the shut him down injury.
There's 8 or 9.
Strain
I think
calf.
that we went over them one morning on radio. There's 9 Achilles right now in the NBA, which is just, it's strange.
Because Dame Lillard had not been playing much. He'd been resting, and he had
and he had that blood clot thing too.
Oh yeah,
that he was coming off of. So yeah, but
that's always been such an old guy injury. That's not supposed to happen to young dudes that are as incredibly fit as these guys are.
Well, the thing that's
crazy, if Halliburton doesn't play in the NBA Finals, the narrative around him is what a pussy this guy is. He's not trying to play through a calf injury. I mean, I guess we just kind of got to change the way that we think of it.
Well, it's so crazy too because when the Halliburton thing happened, you immediately thought of Aaron Rodgers when he, tore his Achilles, and it's like now you're able to see on slow motion replay you're able to be your own doctor. You're like, well, that's an Achilles. Like when you see that calf vibrate, it's just like, oh shit.
It's kind of disgusting that we've become. I think PMT was talking about it this week that we are now professional doctors. Anytime that you see a guy go down without contact in the manner that Halliburton went down or Jason Tatum, you watch the replay and then everybody's like, oh, that's an Achilles.
Oh. I live with a medical professional, and we're watching Game 7. And I was like, Achilles. I pointed at the screen, I knew what it was. And Tiffany's like, how the hell do you know that? And I was like, my thought was Durant. That's who I remember when I think of that injury.
Yeah.
And that injury. But yeah, again, she's forgotten more than I'll ever know, and I got to act like I knew something like that in that moment.
What's crazy is I felt like the NFL are the ones that are the bastards that are trying to make these guys play too many games. But man, the NBA, they might have to look at scheduling and how they do things.
I mean, they kind of did, didn't they? They tried to limit the back-to-backs. They've tried to go about doing. I mean, I think that the answer is pretty clear, and you could cut 25 games off the schedule and be just fine. But they're not going to do that because of TV.
But I mean, they still have teams
I don't
playing each
understand why
other.
they need a 7-game series. Like that's something I kept thinking about all playoffs.
Oh, I'm a 7-game advocate.
Oh, I would never change 7
Just
games.
wait until your team gets beat 3-2, and all of a sudden you're like, why the hell are they not playing 7?
I do think the play-in is stupid. The play-in games.
It's not necessary. In the mid-season thing, I don't like it.
Well, we get to comment on all the rules now. As a world champion, you get to have a say in a lot of things.
I will say the one thing.
Don't we as fans get a vote?
That's what I'm saying.
We get to vote to change one rule? I think that's 100%. Right.
And if we found anything else out over the course of the NBA playoffs, all you got to do is tweet about it, and they'll bend the knee.
That's true.
Yeah, they
got bullied into the graphic on the court and all that.
Surprised they didn't let the Nuggets just advance to the next round. The way that Nuggets fans reacted on Twitter.
I just haven't seen any of that. I
Just
guess you have the Denver history,
group.
though.
I think it's because we probably interacted with a lot of them during the playoffs, and now it's in the algorithm.
I follow a lot of them, too, just because I lived in Denver, so I think a lot of it still pops up on my feed, but they're still crying about the series.
The Rockies are so bad. Would you rather bitch about the Nuggets or talk about why the Rockies just lost their 10th straight?
And I've seen people talk about it, but I remember living through it. 2-3-2 is not a good idea. That's not great for home court advantage. That's not really a home. Like,
well,
I don't know what else
again.
you do, because you got to do the 1-1-1, and they take 2 days off in between, though, right? Was there never a 1 day off?
There was 1 day, but it was
there was one.
But it was the Pacers. It was game 3 to game 4, so there was
that
already
was the Friday Sunday.
They were in town.
No, it was a Wednesday Friday.
Wednesday Friday. That's right.
And that makes the most sense. I've seen some people advocating for 2-3-2. That's stupid. It's a dumb playoff format. Series format. All right. Anything else you guys wanted to get out there before we depart?
I don't think so. George, you're headed down to Louisiana, I know, over the next couple of days. Should be some pretty good content up on the site. I don't know if I think we've said, but I don't know if we wanted to just put it out there.
Yeah, I'll be down
the Passing Academy.
Manning Passing Academy to go talk to Mr. Mateer. See him throw the football around with some of the best quarterbacks in college football, as well as I know Peyton and Eli will be down there.
Is Arch going?
Yep, Arch
I would imagine
will be
he has
there.
To be.
Hopefully everybody will be
down
wanting to talk to Arch and just leave you with Mateer.
I think there's a chance of that.
Did you see Steve Spurrier spouting off about Arch?
No, I didn't.
It was pretty good. Kind of old form. Steve Spurrier basically said, like, if Arch Manning was so great, why didn't he start in front of Quinn Ewers? It's
pretty funny.
Definitely like a message board take, but when it comes from Steve Spurrier,
it
kind of hit a little different.
It's that common sense humor. All right, that's going to do it. We will be back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 Podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.